firstly, thank you very much for coming out this morning. Look, I'm here to make an announcement about the government's plans today to pass under urgency changes to the Equal Pay Act. The government is committed to an equal pay system that is fair, workable and sustainable, and we don't currently believe that we have those settings right. I'll give you a couple of examples. Equal pay is about gender-based and sex-based discrimination, genuine discrimination. We believe that those settings have been muddied, and we'll look at a couple of examples. If you look at the comparators that are being used across some settlements that have been to date, you have librarians who have been comparing themselves to transport engineers of the same value. We have admin and clerical staff at Health New Zealand comparing themselves to mechanical engineers. There are oranga tamariki social workers who have made comparisons to air traffic controllers. And there have been a range of different industry groups comparing themselves to corrections officers and fisheries officers. We don't believe we have that setting right. Another area that we are changing is to do with the scope of claims. One particular claim for the DHB health and technical admin had over 90 different occupations within that one single claim, branching all the way from dental assistants in hospitals through to cultural advisors and wheelchair technicians. We'd look to limit some of the scope of that claim so that unions who are bringing claims need to show that the claimants actually are doing similar or substantially similar work in order to bring a claim. There's a range of reasons why we are doing this and passing this law today. Firstly, I made it very clear to the Prime Minister when I first came into government that I wished to make amendments to the Equal Pay Act to look at the changes and whether or not we have those settings right. Last year, my cabinet colleagues made it clear to me that there was appetite. There is also the case that every minister in this government has been asked to find savings and be part of playing our part. And I think it's fairly clear that the policy changes that I'm delivering today will go some way, and quite a substantial way, to find very real and significant cost reductions to government. I can't disclose that, that's budget-sensitive information, but what I can say is that there will be significant reductions to the cost of government.
So to pay for anything this year, you are reducing the amount of money going to women?
No, that's not true. All the current settled claims will continue. What is happening is that we're drawing a clear delineation and line in the sand that we don't believe the current settings have been right. There will be new thresholds that any new claimants will need to meet in order to bring a new claim, but the current settled payments will still be there. This is just for the future potential claims.
How many people?
For teachers, right?
Sorry, say that again?
I'm underway for teachers. The NZI is currently going through this, all that urgent legislation that stop that in the past.
Any current claims will be stopped, and they will need to start under the new thresholds, which I will be announcing today, to make it clearer that the scope is better, that we have genuine evidence of sex-based undervaluation and discrimination, rather than muddying the waters with other potential labour market factors, and making sure that the comparators are right. So to give you a better example of how the comparators are used, instead of people being able to pick and choose discrimination based on any industry, we'll be asking people to compare themselves to male-dominated workers within the same employer. If that is not there, then within the same industry, comparing themselves to other similar employers. If there is no comparator there, within that same industry, but you cannot go fishing for discrimination across the New Zealand workforce.
Given that teachers, their claim will be stopped and they'll have to start again under the new expectations, do they have a right, do teachers have a right to feel ripped off, to feel angry with this government right now?
No. One thing I want to make very clear, what I want to make very clear is that this is very different to collective bargaining. This is about genuine sex-based discrimination and undervaluation, and we shouldn't conflate those two issues.
It's underway. You've stopped it. They've been working away at it. They've been working towards a process that is set under legislation. That's now the rug's being pulled out from under them. Do they have a right to feel angry with the government today?
Well, I want to acknowledge that there has been work that's been underway with some of those claims, and I acknowledge that there will be people who have different levels of feeling to what the government is progressing with. But what I can say is this makes the system fairer and better and more workable for everybody wishing to take a claim into the future. We're not stopping claims. We do believe in having an equal pay system and a system to alleviate genuine sex-based discrimination, but we don't have those systems right.
Significant savings. So give us a ballpark then, because the aged care settlement was $2 billion. Is it around that sort of level? $2 billion worth of savings?
Look, I can't give you any particular figure today. All I can say is it will be a significant reduction to the cost of government.
How many different claims? How many different current claims are there, and how many workers do they cover?
I know, talking with the Parliamentary Service Commission, that there's around 33 claims. That was the latest figure that I had. I can't tell you exactly how many people are within that, but we could attempt to find that number for
Because
you.
I think it's 75,000 or 94,000 teachers or something that are covered. I mean, are we talking we're talking in the hundreds of thousands?
That would be right. I mean, most of the claims that have been taken to date are not for individuals. Individuals can take claims. Most of them have been for union-based claims in the public sector.
Sorry. So just to be clear, all 33 claims have now been paused?
All claims that are currently underway will need to restart under the new thresholds.
And you said that you were putting it through urgency. Do you know when you expect it to get royal assent?
I would expect the royal assent to take place the day after the bill passes through legislation. One thing that is really clear is we are doing this under urgency because we want everybody to go through the same thresholds. I don't think it would be appropriate to have some claims that are progressing under different comparators, different thresholds, while new claims could also be made. So we are putting a clear line in the sand to say this is what the government believes will help us make sure that there is an evidential basis for genuine sex-based discrimination.
What's your message to workers who might be concerned by this news? What's your message to workers?
My message to workers is this government is committed to removing gender-based discrimination from New Zealand. We are making this system fairer for all the workers, businesses and employers. We don't believe we've got those current setting right, but we do believe in supporting women at work. We do want women to be respected at work, but we don't think that muddied laws is the right way to go. Sorry? All stages will go through urgency today and I suspect tomorrow.
So there's no consultation on this from the people that they will never like to put their duty in?
That's right, things will be going through urgency. I suspect there will be people who have feelings on both sides, but for me and for the government it's really important that we get this law passed, that we have a sustainable Equal Pay Act, and we are looking at genuine levers of removing genuine discrimination.
Taking away people's ability to take these claims. Shouldn't we at least give them the right to come to Parliament and the right to take claims to the government?
Well, there's a couple of aspects here. Firstly, I always suggested to government that this was an area of work that I wished to do. It was very clear also, however, that there are reasons why the government would wish to pass this under urgency.
When you're taking away quite a significant right of people under legislation, which will result in significantly lower wages than what otherwise would have been the case. Don't those people preserve the right to come to Parliament and try and change the law?
One thing I want to make clear is that we are not taking away anybody's wages. we are saying that settled claims still continue. There is a difference between collective bargaining, where wages should be sought and battled out for whether or not they've got those settings right. This is about gender-based discrimination, and we do not believe that the current settings are right. If you look at some of the things like review clauses, some of the review clauses have said that they would look at CPI over a number of years. I don't believe that's right. It should be looking at gender-based discrimination over years. And we've muddied the waters between collective bargaining and gender-based discrimination in our laws. Look, I very much admire Christine Bartlett. I admire anybody who comes to Parliament or goes through the courts to advocate for themselves and for their wider community. I think that's quite a strength. For Christine Bartlett and anybody else who'd be wishing to potentially bring future claims, I want to say we guarantee as a government that you will be able to bring different claims. However, those claims will simply have to fit under the new thresholds that the government is passing today.
Does this expedited process sit well
It does sit well with my conscience. Thank you very much for asking about it. I think what is really clear to me is I don't believe that the law currently is fair or workable or is picking up just genuine gender-based discrimination. And people will be able to, have their own voices. I'm sure we'll hear feedback from people. But what's very clear. Yeah, and so one of the reasons why we wanted to ensure that there was a quick process and urgency is that we didn't wish people to game the system. So you'd have potentially a long select committee process. I think it's a genuine possibility that if over time... No, please let me finish. I think it's quite possible that if we had done a long extended consultation period through select committee, through the second reading, through committee of the whole, through third reading, it's possible people may have wished to try and bring claims under the old threshold knowing that it was about to change. And so we wanted to ensure that we had a clear delineation and line in the sand that these will only be going through under the new thresholds.
Or is it simply that the government needs to get this all signed off before the budget for those savings to be banked?
I think there are many things that are true. It is also true that there will be significant reductions to the cost of government through the policy changes. This is about protecting women's rights. I am somebody who supports women at work. We're not taking money from anybody. We as a government are committed to a system to recognise genuine sex-based discrimination, and that will still stand. I support women at work. I support removing gender-based discrimination and sex-based discrimination. However, we want to ensure that the settings are right. Is it reasonable that we have people who are librarians comparing themselves to engineers, or we have social workers comparing themselves to air transport controllers? I believe everybody comes to the system genuinely, but we are muddying the waters between other types of CPI, other labour market forces, and not looking at getting the settings correct so we can focus genuinely on sex-based discrimination. Well, that is a question that you should be asking the unions. Well, there are many aspects to any particular claim, but I'm not here today to get into any particular claim. No, what I'm saying is what we're changing is the comparative status. So people within a similar workforce will need to compare themselves to people within that workforce first to see if there's gender-based discrimination, and then, if they cannot find any, to go to other workforces within that same area and then within that sector. I think if we have a hierarchy of comparators, it will be easier and more evidentially basis to have gender-based discrimination rather than picking and choosing across the industry and trying to find discrimination, as opposed to actually looking at where it lies earlier and quicker within the industry.
So how do you feel putting this forward as
Well, there's quite a lot there about being a woman and having a legacy. Yeah. I'm proud to be a woman, and I'm proud to support women at work. I'm proud to remove sex-based discrimination. I don't believe that the current settings get that right. This is about tidying up the labour law to make sure we are focusing on genuine sex-based discrimination and not muddying it with collective bargaining or other labour market forces.
Okay.
Sorry, it
Thank
sounds
you. I'll come back. You guys can come back to us.
Quite strongly on the margin coming up.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're now using it for this, and it's fine, and that's not fine. Can you explain this?
Look, what I would say is I made it very clear to the Prime Minister at the start of my term that I wish to look in and inquire into the equal pay system.
Legislation and making legislation, why urgency is appropriate? Can you explain that?
I'm not here to try and conflate multiple issues. What I would like to do is make it very clear why I am doing this, which is I wanted to make sure to the Prime Minister and to my caucus and cabinet colleagues that I wish to get this work done. It is also the case that every minister across this government has been asked to play our part to find savings across government. My policy changes will make significant cost reductions to the Crown. So thank you very much.
Come back to us. Come directly to you.